Welcome to another episode of the A-Team at New Beginnings Farmstead. We have Jeff, Ryan, myself, and Egidio. We are missing Julie today, so hopefully she'll be back with us soon. But our one topic that we were going to discuss is being neighborly. Are you a good neighbor? What makes a good neighbor? So, who would like to start? Anybody?
I think Egidio should start.
Yeah.
Minding your own business.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what makes a good neighbor, right?
I agree.
Report the smoke when you see it.
It's very loud.
Report the smoke when you see it. Come over to check on me if you haven't seen me in a while. Make a phone by phone call, right? Hey, I wonder how they're doing, and that's it.
Even that's
right?
a lot.
Return the dog if it goes over the fence. Other than that,
Good fences make good neighbors.
that's right.
There you
That's
go.
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. The reason I wanted to discuss this is I'm having a couple issues with some neighbors. Not here at the farm. We are very fortunate. We have actually what you just said happened. Last week I had the windows open and I heard a scream. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good.
Shut the window.
Good neighbor, Jeff. A good
Yeah.
neighbor.
So I did text the neighbor to make sure she was okay. But she's older than I am, and she lives by herself. And she texts back a little while later, and she said, no, I'm good, but thank you. Thank you for checking on me. But we're lucky. We have great neighbors on both sides of us here.
And when she hears screams here, she's just so used to it.
Yeah.
She knows.
No big deal. If you're not back in a few hours, I'll send one of the kids to look for you. But so we are working at my father's house in Kingston. And, Kingston homes are a little closer together than what we have here. And it's the house I grew up in, and I know the neighbors pretty well, most of them. There are a few new families that are in there, and there seems to be a lot of neighbors minding other people's business, and not even mine. We were at the house. It wasn't like they were getting in my business.
No.
I had a neighbor who's a much older person who, and I talked to them all. I've known them my entire life. They know that, obviously, they know my father had passed and that I have the house. And we had Elmo and Alyssa living there for quite a while. And we're doing some work inside. It needed a lot of work, a lot of cleaning. My mother had already been dead for 20 years. My father did nothing. So.
Yeah, I mean, painting, some sheetrock touch up,
right.
the dog,
Changing out the shelves in the closet, just updating some things that needed to be updated.
Yeah, nothing major.
And moving all his stuff out because he was there for 52 years of marriage with a lot of stuff. He never got rid of my mother's things. So a lot of moving and boxes. And this past weekend, Egidio was downstairs and suddenly he's like, Lisa, do you want to come down here? And I could tell by the tone.
Yeah, it sounds like him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's like,
Sounds just like him.
Yeah, it was. And I went downstairs and the neighbor had walked into the house. She just came walking in and broke right into how she thought I needed to call the building department on the house that was five houses down. Yeah.
What were they doing?
The bushes, the shrubbery is very overgrown. She's not wrong. The shrubbery is overgrown. The grass
She's
is
not
mowed.
wrong. She's not
correct.
wrong. Yep.
But I have never, nor will I ever, call the building department on a neighbor. I don't care what people do. And quite frankly, it's not her next door neighbor. It's across the street and 8 houses away from her. And she is hung up on what the house looks like. Even though the grass is mowed, the bushes are too big. I don't care. What I really want to say is, mind your business. But she went on and on and on.
Did they start the conversation that way?
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
And she could not. Well, it must be just because they pay their taxes. They can just do anything they want.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
that's what it should be.
And I said, but are they breaking a law that you know of? Because the grass is mowed. I know you can't, after a certain amount, like the grass has to be mowed. Well, but look at it. Okay. It's not affecting my life. I don't understand how it's affecting your life without your binoculars, which she does sit on the porch with. Oh, it's true. Can't really see the house. But she has been over multiple times about that house. So got me thinking about what makes a good neighbor. What do you think, Ryan?
I don't know. I'm probably the best and worst neighbor that somebody could have. I'm resourceful and can help anybody with anything, and if they need something, I'm right there for them.
But
if you don't need something, leave me alone.
there you go.
I just want to do my thing. I built my house in a place where I had a little bit of land, so I don't have somebody right on top of me. I want to do my thing. I work a lot. I work a lot of late nights when I come home, mowing the lawn at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, or if it's rained like it has here every day for the past 2 months, you mow it when you can. So if it happens to be 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I don't really care. I need to mow my lawn before somebody complains that the lawn is too tall. You know, running the equipment and the outdoor projects, and you know, you take the time when you have it. Sometimes it makes for some late nights. Thankfully, most of my neighbors are pretty understanding of the fact that if they complain about me, I will be less apt to help them. So they're usually pretty good. Hey, I heard you out there last night. How'd you make out? Can I see what you did? Oh, yeah, no. Come check it out.
And that's the thing, though. She was like, well, what are you doing in here? You got cleaning up going on. And then are you selling? Well, I know that you know I'm not selling because your grandson, who I know, already told me that he spoke to you about the fact that I'll be renting it. So, again, it's just in somebody else's business. I've never walked in their home. I don't care what they do in their home. I don't care if they stay there, move, rent, light it on fire. I don't care.
Whoa.
Does not affect me.
I said call when you see smoke.
Settle down.
All right, so
like where we are, I've been there for 35 years. The first 25 years, I had one neighbor. It's beautiful. You know, I would tell people directions to my house. When you think you're lost, go another half mile, and I'm on the left. So beautiful. Now there's neighbors. Right, so I don't know, about a year ago, 2 years ago, a realtor called me and said, oh, I see on the property map you have 2 pieces of property, and my client is buying the house next to the one piece, and he's noticed 4-wheeler trails on the property, and he wants to know if you regularly ride your 4-wheeler on the property. And I said, I kind of do a lot of stuff regularly on my property. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And he went on, but that's the problem. That's the culture that's moving in. They want to know.
Yes.
And I said, make me a very lucrative offer, and you can do whatever you want on my property. But that's the problem, right? They feel that because they're buying next to you, they have control of it, which you don't, you know.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I did get a phone call here, living here, maybe a year and a half ago, by a realtor who said they had a client who wanted to buy a piece of property that was adjacent somewhere in the back. You know, we have 130 acres. I don't know where. But it was hinged on they wanted the right of way to go through our property at their leisure. And I said, no. And he said, but then they won't buy.
Okay.
And I said, that's not my problem that they won't buy. They're not coming onto the property. And he was irate about it, that I would not even discuss it. Like, it's not up for discussion.
And here's at the end of the day, we're reasonable people, right? If one of the neighbors said, hey, would you mind? It connects to the
And a neighbor has.
Right,
We have
and
neighbors who've reached out, and we're more than happy. But for
Absolutely.
somebody to call me and then, well, this sale won't happen, that's
Well,
a you
and
problem.
they wanted to formalize it. That's part of it, right? Oh, we want to make sure that you'll agree to a right of way. And I go, no, we're not doing that, you know. Meet the people. Let's see what they feel, you know, how it works out. And yeah, you can go across the property. Listen, at the end of the day, we're just here for a finite number of years, right? Like forever.
But the same thing. So now I have neighbors, right? But they're far away. But snowstorms, if I'm out plowing, I'll look over.
Right.
And if their driveway's not plowed, I'll plow it.
Nice.
Right.
Right? You just run a plow.
Yeah.
Until she tried to pay me. Because now it becomes, I got to do it.
Now you have to do it.
Right? So I refuse the money.
Yeah.
But that's once, like your property, right? Once you formalize it, then you got to do it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Leave me alone.
Yep.
If I'm out and doing stuff, I'll knock out the driveway.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
don't, you know.
Yeah, when I was living up in Olive at that house, same thing. I had the tractor with the snowblower, and I'd see the young couple across the street struggling to plow with those big snowstorms, and I'd go over there. And you want me to? Yeah, just one pass, one just so they get the car out, and that's it. and I think they dropped off a jar of probably the most delicious maple syrup
And that's fine.
I've ever had up until we got here. Up until we got here.
You're funny. And then, so again, on the same street over at my father's, another neighbor came over to tell us that we should probably consider selling instead of renting. It would be more beneficial to us.
See, that just means you have way too many neighbors.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, too many
And that's the
neighbors.
thing. It's like, okay, apparently you don't want, I'm not Airbnb-ing it. I'm not going to have like just people there in and out. But if I wanted to Airbnb it,
But did they make you
I
an
could
offer?
follow the instructions in the city of Kingston and Airbnb
But
it.
make me an offer.
It'd be none of the business.
Right.
Make me an
Right.
offer.
Yeah.
No.
Everything's for sale.
Everything's for sale.
Everything is for sale.
No,
Absolutely.
it's not for sale.
Yes, everything's for sale. Everything has a
Everything
price.
is for
For
sale.
sale.
Everything has a
Everybody's
price.
got a price.
Oh yeah.
Some might be a lot.
I got a price.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's got
Me
a
too.
price.
Yeah, and so that's what my neighborhood is. It's a dead end road. The bottom side of the road was all bungalows or 3-season homes for a long time. There were very few full-time people there, even back then. But there were still some older families, and since I want to say the oldest one there now is probably 20 years, maybe a little more, where they were generations of people before that. So it was very, very quiet. Since the neighborhood has turned over, we have people who have transplanted from somewhere else. And I have been very fortunate that they came to my neighborhood for the reason that I went to my neighborhood. They wanted to be in a place where nobody was right on top of you. Nobody was in your business. You can still be friendly. You can still wave, but you don't need to talk. Hey, how you doing is good enough, and you keep going.
I agree.
Well, don't make eye contact.
They don't.
You give the wave.
This person walked in.
No,
there
you
was
don't
no
make eye
eye contact. He turned around and she was in the house.
No eye
That's,
contact whatsoever. You
She's
just wave.
crossed the line.
And if you do it right, you look away when you wave. You know what I mean? You throw the hand up,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and it could be a stop or a high. It all depends on the angle.
They're all really good though, because they came there for the reason that they wanted to have the peace and quiet. They wanted to be away from everybody, not be in everybody's business, right on top of one another. It's unless I'm the outcast and nobody talks to me, which is fine too. But
Well, weren't you digging into rock or hammering until like
yeah, that
midnight?
Yeah, well,
Loudly too, I was told.
because I didn't have a jackhammer and because I didn't have anything really. I used a demo saw and a 5-pound sludge and a cold chisel at 11 o'clock at night in a snowstorm, trying to get some pipes in the ground. But because of where I am, it didn't seem to bother anyone. Nobody
But
complained.
I'll do that too, right? You still got to be. You got to be a good neighbor too, right? So Sunday morning, I won't cut grass until 9, 10. You know what I mean? There are some limits. You still got to play. You still got to play nice, right? No, you still got to. Play.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
When, again, we were living up there. The kids were young, and we had a neighbor long since gone, and that couldn't control the dogs,
Right.
and the dogs kept coming on the property. You know, like we had a dog as well. And they had a couple of pit bulls. My kids were scared of them, and at one point I'm like, hey, you got to keep your dogs on your property. He goes, I can't control them. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Feel free to put up a fence, but your dogs have to stay on your property. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem for both of us. And, he ended up calling the police. And then I got there and I told the cop, I said, listen, at the end of the day, the guy has a responsibility to keep his dog on his property, right? He goes, yeah. And could you go tell him that? Because he didn't listen to me when I said it.
Right.
That's it. So, but that's the case.
Yeah. And
But
we
that's
have-
that's essentially what it takes, right? At the end of the day, we joke about it, but call when you see smoke, check on everybody. Yeah, I mean that's a standard, just being a good human being, right? But at the end of the day, we have responsibilities, right? If you're septic leaching into my well water, we got a problem,
problem.
right? If you're changing the oil on your driveway and it's uphill from my house, we got a problem, right? Like stuff like that. You leave your garbage out and the bear drags it across our property, that's a problem,
Right.
But if everyone does their part, picks up where they got to pick up, and I get it. I mean, one of the things that I've always found interesting is that, and you probably best at the table right now to talk about it, is people will call for things that I feel are the property owner's responsibility, right? A tree branch comes down on the property, not in the roadway, right? To some degree, I get it, right? Like, all right, maybe I don't have the tools or the training to go get the branch, but at the end of the day, what's the harm? And, just recently I was driving back on 209, this branch came down, and clearly it was in the middle of the road. And so I pull over, put my flashers on, pull it out of the way. And I know there's a lot of people that do that, but I can't tell you. There must have been 6 other cars that just drove around it.
Right.
You know what I mean? At one point, you're like, wait, what are you doing? You know? But yeah, there's people, and probably all over the place, that will say, hey, you got to send somebody over. There's something going on. You know, there's a tree branch in my road or in my driveway.
Yeah.
It's your driveway. What are you calling this for? Right?
Well, we also, again, at my father's house in the backyard, so the backyard is fenced in. On the other side of the fence, quite close, is an apartment complex. They had a tree that we had a storm. That tree fell into my father's yard, taking down the fence. It was an old fence, but it wasn't our tree. We didn't know what happened. A neighbor called to say, hey, just so you know, and they sent us a picture. And a couple weeks went by, that property, and now there's apartments, so clearly somebody's an apartment manager. They never made any attempt to rectify the situation. We spent an entire weekend, and we were concerned about going on their property. We contacted them to say, your tree came down, we are cleaning it up, we are going to be on your property.
Yeah, there was a point.
But that really wasn't how it should have gone down.
Right.
They took out our fence and left it there. It was a huge tree. It was days of cleaning up.
Yeah, it was big enough, and it was only maybe 4 feet from the property line. You know, it's tight lot lines down there, and so when the tree came down, it was pretty big. 20 inches in diameter at the butt end of it, and so we cleaned up all the branches. It came across into the property, and so there was about 4 feet that was still hung up on the stump where it had splintered. And so I said to her, "Listen, the right thing to do is to cut it down as close to the ground as we can. I mean, no one's going to use the wood. We might as well take it. We'll burn it ourselves." But luckily, somebody came out of the apartment and saw us doing it. And any chance you have a number for the property manager or anything, and we were able to contact them, and they were like, "Yeah, no problem. Just cut it and take it, whatever." But we were concerned about going on someone else's property,
right? So. But again, we should. It was weeks, like 2 weeks from when it fell down, because we were like, okay, well, they must see it. There's an apartment manager there someplace. There's all these apartments there, and that's well maintained. That apartment building, it's very nice, but they didn't care that it went through our fence. And
the other part of it is we have the tools and the training to clean it up, right? Maybe if we didn't, it would be a different story, but we do, right? I would imagine most people in that condition, in that situation, that live in Kingston don't have commercial chainsaws.
But again, it's a business, so they did have insurance.
No, I understand that. But
so they should have done the right thing.
I agree.
They should have, and they did not.
But we cleaned it up, whereas there may be other people that don't have that option available to them, right?
Right. They wouldn't know they wouldn't know the first thing to do with it.
Right. They wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. And then if there was a cost to hire a tree service to clean it up, who's going to foot the bill on that one, right? It should be the owner of the property it came down on. So. But there's challenges with any of it, parking in the grass or, on your front lawn or whatever, right? There are challenges every place. We don't have that many here where we are, but in the city, there's parts where don't have sidewalks, right? You pointed that one part of it out of me. Yeah. You said, there's no sidewalks. And I was asking you where the curb thing is, and
right.
You're like, there's no sidewalks on the street, I'm like, okay, where's the line? Well, technically, it's the right-of-way is 15 feet from center. What is it?
Your street is 25 from center.
25 from center.
Yeah.
Wow,
50-foot right away.
That's a lot of land.
Well, you get to enjoy some of it as your front yard.
So it's definitely. But it's interesting, right? Everyone's got their stories about it, and I just find that number one rule: mind your own business. See smoke, call the fire department. Yeah, see smoke, call the fire department. If the lights have been on or the mail's stacking up, check on them. That type of thing. And other than that, like you said.
Give
a little wave as you're walking past.
But again, this is the same neighbor who said Elmo's not friendly. He's not. He doesn't want to be your friend when he was living there.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's not friendly. Okay. Mind your business.
Man, she's tough.
It's a tough crowd.
She says that all the time. I said, what are you doing with that?
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
And you grew up in Kingston.
I did. Yes, I grew up with these people. I know every one of them on that street.
Well, that's why they're comfortable.
And that's
That's
she's never just walked in the house before. But I'm thinking I should go walk in there.
I would have called the cops.
I should walk in the house and go, I just wanted to see. Are you cleaning up in here? What are you doing? Are you selling? What's going on?
I would have called the cops.
I don't know.
Yep.
Trespassing.
How do we get on this topic?
No, just because I'm Annoyed.
You are annoyed.
Angry.
I've been annoyed.
Yeah.
I've been annoyed.
She was
about it
ranting,
since it
raving.
happened.
We were still like, I think we were painting the one bedroom, and you were ranting and raving. I'm like, the windows are open.
He goes, are you saying, are you saying this loud enough so that they can hear you? And I said, I don't care. They should mind the business.
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up in a situation like that too, right on Long Island, where
right on top of each other.
your lot was 75 by maybe 100 if you were lucky. You know what I mean? That was the lot. I couldn't live like that now.
No,
I
absolutely
just
not.
couldn't do that now.
My the house that I lived on
not
that
a
we
chance.
rent out, if you pull and I had a driveway. I was lucky to have a driveway, and we still own the house. We rent it out. Lovely tenants. But if you pulled your car too far into the driveway, you can't get out of the car because your car door hits the house next to you.
It's so tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
If you
that close.
the window is open in the dining room and you sneeze, the neighbor
absolutely.
says, "Bless you."
Bless you.
Yeah. It's
hear
unbelievable.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not okay. I could not live like that.
Well, I mean, and everyone wants their privacy clearly, right? Like fences, like you mentioned, the good neighbor, good fences type thing. But literally, that the ball gets thrown over the fence, like it's right there, and hand it back and keep going.
And
They're
again,
having a party.
when I was living there, we were very lucky. I got along great with both
they're all
sides.
good neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone there is no problem. Yeah, and some.
But if you're not, and you're having a problem, and you're that close, that's a problem.
right, yeah, it could be bad.
And a house is a big investment.
Yeah,
And so, whether you're the native to the neighborhood and you have somebody new move in next door that doesn't respect the unwritten rules of your neighborhood, or whether you're the new person that moves into a neighborhood and you don't respect those rules, it's a huge investment to buy a home and then not like the people that are next to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Or own a home and have someone move in next to you that you don't like. No, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. All right. So we hope that you're all very neighborly in your neighborhood.
Oh, I look, sorry.
Look away.
We
Might
hope
want to
you'll-
practice that.
We hope you like and subscribe and mind your business like you should be doing in your neighborhood.
Is that what this one's going to be titled?
Mind your business. Yep. We'll see you soon.